Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boss Babe Blog Podcast. I'm your host, KeTohn, and today we have special guest, Lisa. She's going to be joining us to talk about her book, her business, why she decided to become an author, and just kind of getting to know or allowing you to get to know her a little bit more so that when you're making that purchase, you can have that authentic connection to her mission and what she's all about. So thank you for joining us, Lisa.
Hello, good to be here.
Yes, it's nice to have you again. I had a really good time during our interview
I
on
did
Boss
too,
Babe. Yeah, we talked about like a series of conversations.
right?
Uh, the dating, we talked about family,
Yeah,
we talked about overcoming trauma. So I got
yeah,
to get a little bit deeper into like some of the things that are really important for you. But before we go into that side of things, for
sure.
everyone that didn't watch the interview, can you let everybody know what products you provide, what service that you're sharing for everyone?
Oh, sure. Well, I am a Christian speaker and a worship leader, but also an author. So I'm introducing my Christian children's book, Who I Am Today.
Okay, perfect. And can you tell us a little bit about this book for anyone that wants to purchase for their children? What's the age range for the book and what's the concept behind it?
Sure. So it's for ages like 4 years old to 12 years old. And it is about this little boy, Noble, and what happens in his day, a normal child's day, what they experience and how they react with their heart and how they can believe some of those, lies throughout the day, like if you get rejected or a parent's busy, just normal stuff. And how to help kids remember their value and their worth no matter what happens in their day. And because it's a Christian story, it leads Noble to connect with Father God and pray and ask Father God, how do you see me? Like basically, you're asking God, will you remind me who I am? Because I started to believe some not good things. And so at the end of the book, it also invites the reader then to do the same thing with Father God as well.
Okay, I love the message and I love the fact that it kind of resonates for me too, even as an adult. Just the concept of, in the moment when you're feeling emotional, you're going through things, just not acting on that emotion and always going back to the root of what you know about yourself. So that's a great lesson. And sometimes we as adults forget to act
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. And it is totally for adults as well. I have a friend who keeps it on their desk because it's like this reminder.
The who I am book on the
Yeah,
desk.
they're totally an adult, and it's so funny. But it's like I hear a lot of good reviews from the adults who are reading it with the kids that they take their moment too, then to ask God, okay, these are the things that hurt me today. Jesus, heal my heart, remind me who I am. And the adults are getting just as much out of it as the kids, which is great.
That's so funny. They have it sitting up on their desk. I'm sure people pass by. They're like, "Do you have kids or
Right? No, I don't. Yeah, exactly.
got a random child's book sitting on your desk?" But no, that's really good, and it's true. Like the message, it's something that sometimes we're not taught at a young age, and so repetition is key, right? And when you're growing up, and even if it isn't a Christian household, non-Christian household, but you're not consistently being reminded that you're gonna have moments when you feel emotional, always
Yeah,
go back to what you know about yourself. It's kind of hard to execute that into your teenage and adult life, especially your teenage life, because there's hormones, their brain's still developing. So these kind of messages I think are really key to making sure your children have that confidence. And when they're making decisions, they may not be perfect, but they won't be the first person to look for the self-destructive option or the self-disrespecting option versus, okay, I'm really angry right now, but I don't want to make a decision that doesn't align with who I am. So,
yes, and the book also teaches like the parents in the story really help to speak the truth as well to the child. So it is that counteractive, you know, what is the truth to what you're believing, right? What you should change your thought, right? So that's
yeah,
also in there too, just what you were saying exactly.
that's wonderful. And from what I'm hearing and from what we talked about previously, there's also a huge sense of promoting emotional awareness
Yeah.
and regulation, should I say. I think that's the best way to describe it. Like, because you said they're having conversations while they're reading the book about the child's feelings, and you leave, I think you have a video, a YouTube video where you're teaching the parents how to walk through the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a YouTube channel too, and my name is up there. You can find it. But yeah, it's the first part. I'm just explaining the story, but then I teach parents or adults, whoever's working with their kid. It's great. If you're a teacher, anytime you're working with a kid, using the book, and to actually even go deeper, farther than the book, and actually walk the child through healing their hearts, asking God to heal their hearts from what happened in their day. So you can go even deeper, and teaching them those step by steps of, like, forgiving that person that hurt you, and explaining why you have to forgive, and then, seeking that healing for their heart.
Mhm.
So that's like huge. If they get into a pattern of that, then it's like releasing it. It's the same with us adults. We tend to push things down,
Oh yeah.
but we're technically not supposed to.
It's really not healthy, but
Right?
but for some reason we make it so normal to go throughout the day
Right?
just
Or
having
we're
all
like,
this
we're too
chaos.
busy. We can't handle that right now. But
Yeah.
however, the hurt still happens. So even if we push it down, we can get really good at pushing it down
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
certain degree, but then eventually will come out. So it's far easier if we get into the habit of healing our hearts and asking God to heal us from things that happen throughout our day, so our hearts remain open and whole. Because the more we get hurt and the more we don't deal with it, we get more and more walls that block us,
It
so
piles up.
we're so much more free and healthy and whole if we can deal with those things that hurt us right away.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I would even argue to say that, like, even though yes, we are busy as adults, the behavior of having these kind of conversations, like the ones in your book, having that early on would actually really help with not, misprioritizing the importance of your emotions. Because at a young age, you're training your child to start to have these conversations. But like I said earlier, if you're going through your life and you're not having these conversations with your parents, it's going to be normal to think that your emotions and how you're feeling is really not priority over other things in your life. Because I've had times where they're free, just not emotionally free. So,
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not busy today. You could sit down and we could address what it is that's really bothering you at the core, or we could turn on another episode of, I don't
Right.
know, whatever people are watching these days, and pretend as
Sure.
if this isn't something that's eating at you. And it's
Yeah.
a habit. Like, we form those habits. So I really think that for any parents that are watching this, any kind of book where you're talking about emotional regulation with your child and having these conversations early, but most importantly, consistently, is really key. And I did want to touch on what we discussed on the show too for some tips for parents, because there was one we talked about where you were sharing with them how to break down the book with their child and how to make sure the conversation is interactive. So I wanted to remind parents to try to do that every day after school with their kids, so that their kids get in a habit of feeling comfortable and they know that it's not a negative thing to share what's been going on throughout their day. They're not being quote unquote interrogated. It's just a regular conversation that we have. How was your day? How was your teacher? Did anything happen in class today? How are you feeling after class, after school? Because so many things take place that children don't know how to verbalize. So, do you have any other tips that you would say for parents when it comes to having these emotional conversations?
Well, in general, the book is helpful because the kids can see the picture and hear the story of how this child walks through it and his emotions. And so it's far easier when they see it and hear it, and then they'll be like, they can connect it to their own life. So it's like, if you just randomly ask, what hurt you or whatever, they might just blow you off. But if
Mm-hmm.
you have a tool or things that help you at least start you on your time with your child to help bring in that conversation, is just super helpful. As soon as they see an example of a child doing it, like in the story, I've noticed that they can recall their own experiences and can relate really fast and really easy. So that's why I recommend it to parents as a tool, because it really helps. Like, it helps start those kind of conversations. Like, they have an image in mind and they can know exactly how to do it almost.
Yeah.
So that's helpful in that way. But yeah, in general, like at night, kids love story time. They love snuggle time. It's like that one-on-one, quiet, intimate experience with their parents. And so there's a ready and openness for you to reach deeper into their hearts. So there's just that stillness, that quiet time. And so it's just a golden opportunity to really hear their hearts for that day. And to, like you were saying, KeTohn, to really ask them, was there anything that hurt you, with and then when they start talking, oh, then they'll really share. But don't leave it there. Like, actually walk them through those process, those steps of releasing it, so that they're free and whole again. They remember who they are. They're full of life again to start their day fresh and new the next day. And that is just huge. To be
Yeah,
able to do that. Hmm.
I agree. And then speaking on trauma, healing trauma,
Hmm.
sometimes you open up opportunities to heal trauma when you're having that open conversation with your child, because um, in some situations you are able to control the environment and everything that your child is exposed to. And traumas can come in different levels. So one trauma could be, oh, Susie called me ugly today at the park, and that's okay. Let's sit down and talk about how it feels when someone calls you a name. Another trauma could be a little bit more serious, like, oh, Mrs. Susie put her hands on me or pushed me. And when you're not having those conversations with your children, you don't create that floor to actually learn what's going on. So I really love the fact that this book is giving the parent an opportunity to show them what it looks like to express those emotions. And I'm also curious to know for you, like, what was there a moment in your life where you felt like you needed to write this book? Was it something that you experienced yourself, or did you have a little one or have a little one that, is going through something and you said, okay, I need to sit down and create a book that looks like this?
Well, I have been trained in inner healing ministry, so that, like, is basically healing your hearts, right? Asking God to heal and restore your heart. So I've been doing that for years and years. And you know, yes, us as adults definitely need inner healing and trauma lifted off of our hearts, but children do too. And they, at an early age, are reacting right now just with their heart. And they're deciding things in those hurt moments about themselves, how the world is going to treat them, everything. As this is like the most, uh, I mean, vital time in their life, where
Yeah.
they're creating their world, their what they believe, how people
Their
are going to treat
identity.
them, their identity. So if they don't, they're not adults. They don't know how to react with an adult brain. They simply react out of hurt and then decide in those moments, this is how people look at me. This is my worth. And they begin to believe these things, and it becomes their life. It becomes their world. And so we need to train them super early on, teaching them how to come back to their identity, so that their world is full of light and hope, and they're their full perfect wholeness of who they're meant to be, with nothing, no lies, no wrong belief systems stopping them, blocking them, creating this chaotic world around them. And so if we can teach them how to remain healed and whole, oh, they will just soar for the rest of their life. So
Yeah. So it was really from being in that ministry where you're seeing how a lot of times children can start to form their own identity from trauma or from having native experiences and not understanding that, hey, it's okay to be emotional, but it doesn't change you as a person or it doesn't change your greatness. So it's kind of like you saw that and then that's what made you want to go and write the book.
well, I mean, I saw that, but it was actually God who showed me, this is what I need, this message out there for kids. Like, they need to know this.
Yeah.
So, and they need to start getting their identity totally whole and secure, so that no matter what happens in their life, they're going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
will be able to spread the light to the world, because they will be so whole and complete. And that's how we all want to be, is that healed and that whole. So it was just God really pressing on my heart, this is a message for kids too, not just adults. So yeah, so I mean, I worked a lot of inner healing with adults, but then it was God who was like, this needs to be for kids too. So here's the story kind of thing. So yeah, it was very inspired by God. He was the one who showed me to do that. So
Okay. And I do want to let parents know that this book is available on Kindle. Is Kindle, right? Am I correct?
am Amazon. Oh, you
Yeah,
mean
through
yes.
Amazon. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's available through Amazon on Kindle, but it's also available through a paperback and hardback copy.
Yep. Yep. And
Just in case you want diversity in how you're giving the book to the child. And I really love this message that you're talking about. So if there are any parents out there who are trying to find um, children's Christian books, I really want to encourage you to continue to feed your child's mind, because as we all know, they are like sponges. And I just got done having this conversation with someone who really, in my opinion, didn't grasp how much children take in. They listen to everything and they repeat back stuff that they don't even understand until they get older. And now they're doing things or saying things that they didn't truly understand. And so a lot of times we're giving these kids content and exposing them to things that do not help them to feel better, whether it be a TV show, whether it be, I'm not saying that they can't have extracurricular things, but I think it's important that there should be like a percentage or a ratio. Maybe we do about like 80% educational, uplifting, motivational, spiritual, and 20% extracurricular that is still uplifting and positive and things like that. And that might be extreme for some people, but maybe we change the perspective and we say, whether it is educational, spiritual, or entertaining, it all needs to be content that is promoting positive growth for my child. So, I'm not a parent, but I do have a parent who was very big on that kind of stuff, like content, what I'm watching, what I'm reading. So I read a lot of different books as a child, and it really did help me with having a sense of confidence, especially when it comes to like emotional regulation. This is something that I feel like if people had earlier, they probably wouldn't have made some of the decisions that they made down the line, especially growing up. If you're growing up in a one parent household, there's times when children feel like, why am I going through this? That's a really great lesson to remind them of, like, this doesn't have anything to do with you. You have your emotions, but you're still a great person, and let's still go back to who you are. So I'm just giving some words of, advice or inspiration for any parents out there that need content or books. We have one today, and Lisa has it available on 3 different ways for you to get it. At Barnes and Noble too, right? Barnes and Noble.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
So in person and Amazon. So for you shoppers that don't want to leave the house, we got you taken care of, Amazon. And for you shoppers that actually enjoyed the bookstore experience, you can go straight into Barnes and Nobles and you can just request the book. So we have options for you. So now that we've talked a little bit about, your book, what the story is about, the importance of that emotional regulation for children, and we also shared where your inspiration came from, which was God, and that message being on your heart. Let's go a little bit deeper into you as an author before we close out. I want to maybe get from you one moment in your life that, or in your business of writing, that you felt like you were being challenged extremely, and how did you overcome that, for anyone else that might be out there going through the same thing?
You mean business wise or just
It can
in?
be business or personal, whichever you choose, because I know someone will resonate with either.
Mhm. Um, well, I mean, I think we all go through things that we need a lot of help with, just in general. So I thankfully, because I know inner healing, that really helps me, but we all go through tough things where we need, I know we had talked about this before, but lifting off trauma. And I do have a YouTube video as well on a prayer that really works to lift off trauma. But I've just found for me as a person, I'm a very sensitive person. So I
Mm.
really take things in, like, when things happen or painful things. And so I found that that has to be a daily walk of lifting that trauma off, letting go of offense, letting go of whatever those things are that happen in your day. And you don't have to take that on. You can have that be lifted off and feel peaceful. And I think for me, that really helps no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm writing a book or, whatever I'm doing. If my heart is healed and whole and I'm not, having any kind of pain or anything that blocks me, you are so much more peaceful as a person to do the things that you're meant to do. And I just found that for myself. If I stay on top of getting healed and overcoming from whatever it is, the smallest of things to the biggest of things, then you can tackle the world. I mean, you literally have the energy, the grace, the strength to do it. So I always encourage people to get their hearts healed, because that is something that will literally propel you into every other thing that you need to do and accomplish in your life. And you'll be able to do it with stars. I mean, you'll just be able to do it just wonderfully. So, yeah, so I don't know if that was helpful.
It is. I'm sure there's people out here who struggle when it comes to like emotions. Again, back to the emotional regulation. But I think your book is also a great example for adults on that too. Like we have moments where we feel sensitive or we're not sure whether to take offense to something or let it go. And it can be hard to determine that sometimes. You don't want to be too nice. You don't want to be,
Right.
too firm. And so I'm sure there's a lot of business owners, professionals, people in their personal life who would resonate with that message. I mean, I definitely have, because I think it comes with age. As you grow older, it becomes a practice, like I was saying earlier. I was one of the children where my mom did have certain conversations with me about, I know it's a big deal right now, but it's not going to be a big deal in 5 years. And in the moment, it was like, you couldn't tell me anything. And I think
Right.
the first, the first time that I ever recollected that was when I worked in retail, because I had started working as a store manager and I was young. And so I think I was 21, and most of the people that I was working with were older than me, which is fine. But
Sure, sure, sure.
sometimes, because when people are older than you, they assume that means they know more than you in areas, even if you have more experience. And so there would be times where I had to work with teaching people like, hey, I'm in this position for a reason. And I remember coming home some days and I'll be so stressed out and I'll be like, Mom, I can't believe this. And she'll be
Right.
like, listen, she's like, I promise you, you are not going to care about this in the next 10 years. It's going to be over. And I could not get it through to her enough of how serious this was in this moment. And how everything's going to change. And when I go back, I'm going to do this, 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 this. And, after about probably 2 to 3 years of being in retail and working in a management position, I look back and laugh because I'm like, now the things back then that were so big to me, I realized are really not that big to me. And I had to dig deeper, like you said, finding healing and understanding the root of my emotions to understand that this isn't something that I need to take offense to. So no, I think it's relatable because it was a lesson that I had to learn too. And it was hard in the beginning. You're
Yes.
like, should I take offense to this? Are you trying to
Right.
be funny? But I have this practice now that I do where before I respond, if I feel like someone has a negative intention, I sit first and I
Mhm.
think about their previous behaviors and I think about where I met them and what our intentions were. This is somebody that I've known for a long time, or I've been working with them and they're pretty positive. I don't see why I should take offense to something because usually their intentions are pretty positive. Now, if this is a place where I'm dealing with someone that's not the most positive, okay, I should be a little concerned. But even then, how do I come out on top with the proactive solution? So that's been my thing now, is kind of like how we have business days. I have emotional days. Let me take like 1 to 2 emotional days to process what you just did and
Right.
then decide on if I need to go in like I was preparing to do or if I need to come back and be peaceful and stuff. So usually doing that really helps me. But I want to say thank you for deciding to write your book because I think it'll be a great conversation for parents in our community. We do plan on writing a series of blogs for any parents out there that just want more insight. Lisa mentioned a book earlier, a resource earlier, where she is helping you with a prayer to release the trauma. And there's also another resource, we mentioned it earlier, where she's walking parents through how to be interactive while reading that book to their children. So, yeah.
Yep, and you can find that all on my YouTube channel. And this is also going to be a book series, so feel free to follow me on Facebook or Amazon too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect. Will do. And we will drop the link so that you all can go learn all about her and go visit her Amazon page and purchase her books as well. So now that we've done all of that, is there any last message that you would like to leave with the audience, Lisa?
Um, I don't know. Just God bless you, and you are one of a kind, special, and to always remember that you have gifts that nobody else does, and so shine where you're at. You are needed and wanted and loved in this world. So God bless you, and thank you for being here.
Snaps. Felt like I was listening to poetry. Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Boss Babe Blog podcast. Hope that you get to join us again. And again, all of her information will be dropped in the comments. You can go follow her YouTube page to get those resources. Purchase her book through Kindle, through hard copy, or through paperback. And you can also follow her on Facebook as well. All the information will be dropped below. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.